Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar Magic the Gathering video. This one's going to be going over the multicolored cards. So we've covered all the monocolors and now we go into the double color cards, the triple color cards, and there's one sort of 4/5 color card. So there's a lot of alternate arts here. This is where a lot of the best versions of the characters are. So a bunch of alternate arts to talk about. I'm going to do this out of order here just because this is where you can most clearly see the archetype specific cards. You'll note the extra images up on screen here, which is to show the specific draft archetypes. So we're going to start with the white-blue combination, which you can see here is flyers. This is the way they describe it. This is official Magic the Gathering stuff. This is what this graphic is. Take the disguise with Aang and his friends, gather a team of flyers, and soar like an airbender. So this is the way that this gets organized here, is that every one of these color combinations has a gold card that is uncommon. So this is both colors in uncommon, and this is the quote-unquote signpost uncommon card. That is exactly what this color pairing wants to do. They have a common hybrid card of this two color, and they also have an uncommon one of that. And then typically there is at least one kind of noted character that is in this color pairing, though that one leans more into very specifically what that character is doing. It still works with the archetype, but it's a bit more specific. But we'll start with the archetype specific one here. Air Nomad Legacy. It's a white and a blue for an uncommon enchantment. When it enters, you create a clue token, and then creatures you control with flying get +1/+1, which is perfect. That's exactly what you want to do in this color pairing. Make your flyers bigger, and specifically making your flyers bigger is notable. They tend to be costed in such a way where they kind of acknowledge that they're kind of easy to get through on attack. So if you can do more damage with your flyers, the game does end quicker. And then you get a clue token to facilitate a card draw at a later point. And then the idea is also you might have some airbending in this color combination. This is a decent target to target your own card with, because you can just airbend this, then get it back, create another clue token. So it's an outlet for airbending yourself if you wish. But yeah, pretty nice. And you can see that one of the themes of this archetype is also kind of like the Northern Air Temple episode, which is cool. Next up is Cat Owl. So this is 3 and then a hybrid white-blue for a 3/3 cat bird with flying. Whenever this creature attacks, untap target artifact or creature. Just to quickly explain the whole hybrid thing. So this means you can pay for this card as 3 and a white or 3 and a blue. Meaning you can actually play this in a mono white deck. It is a white card, but it's also a blue card, and then of course it works if you're playing both colors as well. You maybe need to care a little bit more about it if it has multiple hybrid pips, as we'll kind of get into, but just this as a single hybrid one makes it very kind of monocolor or both. So yeah, this is nice. 3/3 flyer for 4. And when it attacks, you can untap an artifact or creature. So the idea here is clearly to affect water bending. So when you pay for a water bending cost, you tap your artifacts and creatures. This thing can help to untap them later on to, I guess, maybe use a water bending effect later on in the turn. Or it's basically meant to be like, oh, I can attack with all my things, and then at least one of them gets untapped for a waterbending effect maybe later on. So it's definitely cool. You can also see how this could work with earthbending as well, for kind of the same reasons of like using your earthbent lands as lands for mana as well as attacking. Next up, Sokka Lateral Strategist. So you can see it's a 1 and then 2 of the hybrid mana of this color. So this is a 2/4 with Vigilance. It's a legendary creature, human warrior. It's an ally. When Sokka and at least one other creature attack, draw a card. And yeah, because you will have flyers a lot, you are going to be getting through with attacks. So once you have Sokka and potentially a flyer, you can draw cards. That's nice. Note this one has the 2 hybrid pips, so it's 3 mana, but you can pay it as 1 white-white, 1 blue-blue, or 1 white-blue. So just to kind of note that overall, so that's cool. But yeah, it just means that sometimes these ones that have multiple pips, you maybe don't want to play this in a deck that's kind of off color. Say you're playing a green-white deck. This Sokka, you might be able to put it in, but note that the casting cost is effectively 1 white-white. and you don't want to maybe overly have the double pips just in case you can't cast it at specific points. But yeah, that's the Sokka. Then we get into the two kind of more notable characters that are in this archetype. So Katara Water Tribe's Hope is 2 white blue blue for human warrior ally rare. It's a 3/3 with vigilance. When Katara enters, you create a 1/1 white ally creature token, and it also has waterbending X. Creatures you control have base power and toughness XX until end of turn. X can't be 0, and you have to activate it during your turn. So it's pretty nice. It's 5 mana for a 3/3, but it comes in with a 1/1 white ally. So you get 4 worth of power. And then the vigilance is nice as well. So that means you can attack and then use her for kind of water bending is sort of the intent. But in this case, you kind of want to do it maybe a little bit beforehand. So it's interesting there. But still, you can choose how big you want to make all of your creatures. All creatures get whatever amount you cast this for. That's interesting. It means that at the very least, Katara comes in and maybe the next turn you can go like Waterbend 3. Now your 1/1 ally is now up to a 3. You probably want to go 1 up, so at least Katara gets a boost as well. 2 4/4s. And then if you have a bigger board, potentially with a bunch of flyers or ally tokens, more of them, yeah, this can be pretty notable in terms of getting your attacks through, like especially if you have that Sokka on board and stuff like that. The Cat Owl, it's definitely a cool card overall. And this is, of course, our kind of, yeah, our book, our Katara who has, done her kind of waterbending training, but it's not the end of series Katara. So that's cool. This one has an elemental frame card here. This is available in play boosters. This one will have a few more cards that are like, oh, you can only get this in collector boosters, but we'll get to it. Next up is Aang Swift Savior, 1 white blue for a human avatar ally, rare. It's a 2/3 with flash and flying. When Aang enters, airbend up to 1 other target creature or spell, and you can waterbend 8 to transform Aang into Aang and Law, Ocean's Fury. So Avatar Spirit Ally, 5/5, reach and trample, and when it attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on each tapped creature you control. Now obviously when you attack, you will be tapped, so it boosts itself and everything else. And then especially like the turn you kind of bring this into play, flipping it over, you'll probably have a lot of tapped creatures for the water bending you just did. So you're boosting everything else, so it allows you to kind of get a little bit of advantage for the pretty big cost you had to pay for the transformation. But interestingly, the most powerful effect on the card probably is on the front side, and that is the fact that it has flash, and then when Aang enters, you can airbend a creature or spell. You actually get to airbend a spell at like instant speed, meaning you can actually, for the first time I think in the set, airbend something that is not a permanent, basically. Now that works in the way you think it does, in that it basically kind of airbends it off the stack effectively, so it doesn't actually resolve. So that's the significance of this card. It is a quote-unquote counter to a spell, which is really, really interesting. But of course, you can just use it as a normal airbending one, because it allows you to do your own stuff or your opponent's stuff as well. On the other side, like reach trample is nice, it's a bit more powerful. This is how you get the power overall, but actually I think a lot of the use you maybe want to get out of it is just kind of keeping it on the Aang side and just maybe trying to airbend itself and get that effect multiple times to airbend stuff and potentially instant speed airbend stuff as well. So that is kind of nice. This card has multiple versions here. So there's the scene art of this, as you can see here. The actual part of the scene is the flip side of it. So this is part of the book 1 scene, top right corner. We also have an elemental frame version of this card on both sides, which is very nice. And then this one does have a neon ink battle pose card as well. So this is only collector boosters. The other stuff you can get in play boosters, very rare. This is only collector boosters and is probably, I think, the second highest rarity of card in the whole set. The Brian Konietzko Aang art is the rarest card, of course. After that, it would be these 4 cards. And I think of these 4, this is probably the most hyped one because it is neon ink on both sides and it's 2 very different colors. Pretty cool. I think this one is definitely the best looking of these battle pose cards. In general, I don't think they're the nicest looking cards because I think it's more of the foil treatment over the actual art, but it still is visually, I think, really nice overall. But yeah, that is this color combination, and we will move on. Next up is white-green, which is allies. A world united is unstoppable. Play allies and generate tokens to go wide and hit your enemies hard from all sides. The signpost uncommon here is White Lotus reinforcements. So this is one green-white for a creature human soldier ally. It's a 2/3 with vigilance, and other allies you control get +1/+1. So yeah, this is the one that most heavily wants to lean into allies. You boost everything. You'll have a lot of those tokens that are 1/1, so they'll now be 2/2s, and it having vigilance is always nice to have, given that this is going to maybe lean into like slightly bigger things while still going wide. So yeah, pretty solid, simple card, but it's doing exactly what you want to do. And yeah, this deck has like Earth Kingdoms army theming, but also Order of the White Lotus theming. Next we move into our common hybrid card. So this is a 4 and 1 hybrid for Earth Kingdom Soldier. It is a 3/4 with vigilance, and when it enters, you put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. So that's kind of nice there. So it kind of comes in and it effectively gives out like, what is it, like 5-6 worth of power. It does require you to have a few more things on the board when you put it down, but by the time you're casting a 5-drop, I think that's very reasonable. And again, it has the vigilance as well, so that's nice. Next up is the kind of double hybrid card, Suki Kyoshi Warrior, which is 2 and then 2 of the hybrid for a star 4 human warrior ally legendary creature. Suki's power is equal to the number of creatures you control. So immediately she comes in, she counts herself. She's at least a 1/4. But whenever Suki attacks, create a 1/1 white ally creature token that's tapped and attacking. So when she gets around to attacking, she at least gets herself up to be a 2/4, and then she can continue to get bigger as you cast other creatures, and then she continues to facilitate herself. So she could begin to kind of get out of hand, and it's just, again, it's doing what the deck really, really wants to do. This is kind of simple, kind of fundamental magic, but it's a nice combo of colors overall. And yeah, nice to have a Suki card as well. And then the rare kind of character is Earth King's Lieutenant, which is green-white for a rare 1/1 human soldier ally with trample. When this creature enters, put a +1/+1 counter on each other ally creature you control. And then when another ally you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So he gets a benefit kind of like both sides. There's value to playing him later and early, because obviously if you put him down early, he's not really boosting a lot himself with his kind of like middle effect. But you are getting the most value out of the second thing. And because he does have trample, that's maybe the way they want you to lean. He's a 2-drop, he comes down, maybe buffs one thing, but then he continues to get buffed as it goes on. And again, it's just doing the +1/+1 counter of just the kind of go wide, but also begin to get bigger kind of approach that this strategy is. And yeah, Earth King's Lieutenant also has an extended art, as you can see here. And it's actually a nice one. It kind of reveals a character on the side. Only in collector boosters for the extended arts. Next color combo is white and black, which is sacrifice. Victory comes at a cost. Play small creatures and clues, then gain the upper hand when you sacrifice them. So yeah, this is the sacrifice archetype. The signpost uncommon is Tolls of War, which is white-black for an uncommon enchantment. When this enchantment enters, create a clue token, and whenever you sacrifice a permanent during your turn, create a 1/1 white ally creature token, and it only triggers once each turn, and it's on your turn. So yeah, you come in, you get a clue token. It is something that you can sacrifice, of course, to draw the card, or with something else to get maybe its effect. And then yeah, the benefit for just sacrificing permanents is that you get a 1/1 white ally, which again is another outlet for sacrificing stuff if that's what you want to do. It's a nice card. It just does, yeah, it facilitates the sacrifice stuff in the kind of just mono black. It didn't feel like there was a ton of cards that maybe just did the whole thing, whereas this card is kind of doing that. So that's interesting. And of course, yeah, the tragedy here of yes, Gyatso, his skeleton, very, very sad. But yeah, next is the first hybrid card, Pretending Poxbearers, which is 1 and then 1 hybrid of this. So it's 2 mana for a 2/1 human citizen ally. When this creature dies, create a 1/1 white ally creature token. So again, it's just a card that you feel pretty comfortable attacking with because it replaces itself with the token, and it's just a sacrifice outlet that's like, oh, I can sacrifice him, and then it brings in another thing that it can also sacrifice. Yeah, that's exactly what you want to do. Next is the kind of double hybrid, so it's 4 mana here, 2 and 2 hybrid for 3/3. Heibai, Spirit of Balance, it's a bear spirit. Whenever Heibai enters or attacks, you may sacrifice another creature or artifact. If you do, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Heibai. When Heibai leaves the battlefield, put its counters on target creature you control. Very nice. So yeah, he comes in, you get to sacrifice something, he goes up to being a 5/5. When you get around to attacking, you sacrifice something again, and he's like a 7/7. And then if they do kill him, you can give those counters to something else. It makes those counters kind of permanent, like a spirit. Really, really nice stuff, I think, with this. This is, again, doing exactly what you want. It's leaning into counters, of course, which does make sense with the kind of white kind of aspect of this as well. So it means that you can sort of maybe use it in other decks as well. But yeah, that is very good. And next we have the rare card for this kind of archetype, which is Sandbender Scavengers, which is white and black for a creature human rogue. It's a 1/1. Whenever you sacrifice another permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, and then when this creature dies, you may exile it. When you do, return target creature card with mana value less than or equal to this creature's power from your graveyard to the battlefield. So yeah, it just gets bigger for you doing the sacrifice stuff, and then when it dies, you can get something back from the graveyard depending on how big you actually made it. Again, it's another one of those facilitator cards. You can see that there's a nice consistency across this lineup of kind of double color and hybrid cards. So yeah, it means that the sacrifice one, if you get the double color support, could actually work quite well for you, I think. But that's this color combo. There is also the extended art for Sandbender Scavengers as well. The last of the white color combos is white and red, which is go wide aggro, lead the rebellion with an army of allies and tokens that you can enhance for devastating attacks. So the uncommon signpost card is Sun Warriors, which is 2 white red for a 3/5. That's nice. Firebending X, where X is the number of creatures you control. So there's that kind of wanting to go wide. And you can pay 5 to create a 1/1 white ally creature token. So yeah, if you have a nice amount of firebending support here, this can start to generate the tokens and can begin to just give you a really nice source of the firebending begins to go up. You might get to a point where you can generate multiple tokens on the turn. Plus there's other cards that will generate tokens as well. And it's actually got quite a bit of toughness as well on a kind of red card as well. So I definitely like this one. I'm glad that the Sun Warriors card is actually really, really good. Next is the first hybrid one. So this is 3 and 1 hybrid. So 4 mana for a 2/5. It's Wandering Musicians, a human bard ally. When it attacks, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. Just simple. This is what you want to do with this, which is just to get creatures on board, make them wide, attack in, and you'll get boosts, and this card is giving you that boost. So it's giving everything an 1 extra attack. It's not a lot, but for a common, it's actually not too bad. And then do note that, again, it also has 5 toughness, so this one will probably survive combat to a certain degree. So yeah, cool one here for Chong and the Nomads with Appa in the background. The kind of multi-hybrid card here is Jet Freedom Fighter. So triple hybrid pips here. So 5 mana for a 3/1 human rebel ally. When Jet enters, he deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to target creature an opponent controls. So yeah, if you have a big field, he can take something out straight away. But then when he dies, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. So benefit on both sides. Come in, take something out, and then if he does get killed quite quickly, he'll boost the other things that were on the board because he probably did quite a bit of damage initially. So cool card. It's also kind of flavor wise kind of interesting because the stuff you mostly remember with Jet is his kind of cool introduction in the episode Jet, and then probably his death in towards the book 2 finale. So interesting flavor as well on this one. But then we go to the kind of rare character here. So Iroh T-Master is 1 red white, human citizen ally, legendary. It's a 2/2. When Iroh enters, create a food token. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may have targeted opponent gain control of target permanent you control. When you do, create a 1/1 white ally creature token. Put a +1/+1 counter on that token for each permanent you own that your opponent controls. So this is one where it's more of a kind of build around card, like just for a basic like pre-release or maybe draft type thing. I'm not sure you'll be able to overly maybe support this unless you get a lot of very specific cards. At the very least, he has the food token that he creates that you probably do want to give to your opponent. Otherwise, the idea is you're probably giving your opponent something that you wouldn't really want to give them overall. And sure, it can begin to kind of get bigger if you are just kind of handing over maybe another token you generated elsewhere. And now you're able to kind of boost things by kind of more power. It's interesting because the idea is that you get a token and then that token gets bigger. So initially you hand over the food token and you get like a 2/2 token basically. The next time out, maybe the idea is you give them a 1/1 token, but the 1/1 token you make is now a 3/3. So you're getting the advantage kind of by doing this. It's just you can see it's a slightly more like advanced strategy here versus the more simple draft archetype over here. So an interesting one overall, but I'm not sure it's exactly what you're going for overall. But still, there's an extended art of this one if you so wish. Next color combo is blue-black, which is draw 2, hunt for knowledge using clues and other draw effects to trigger your second draw reward cards. The long game is yours. The signpost uncommon for this one is Foggy Swamp Spirit Keeper. It's 1 blue-black for a 2/4 life linker, human druid ally. So yeah, it gains life when you deal damage. It's got 4 toughness, so that might actually happen a decent amount, so that's nice. And then when you draw your second card each turn, create a 1/1 colorless spirit token with this token can't block or be blocked except by non-spirit creatures. So yeah, the fun factor here is that, yeah, not a lot of cards make those spirit tokens. There's really only a handful because there's only really a handful of spirits that we see over the course of Avatar. So if you get these on board, especially if you start to make maybe multiple of them, your opponent is probably not going to have too many ways to like interact with them in terms of like the combat effect that the spirits tend to have. So that could get out of hand if you can make this happen pretty regularly. So actually kind of good, and that could be just a win con by itself overall. And it might kind of prompt you to be like, if there is a thing I can add into my deck that makes a spirit token more casually, I might want to do that just to have something to interact. But anyway, that's that. It's also a cool card by itself because it's sort of like another spiritual kind of character within the Foggy Swamp tribe. We know they're already sort of spiritual because they live next to kind of like the banyan tree, and like Hugh is enlightened, but the idea of like, oh, like she's just holding like a spirit in her hands is kind of interesting. But anyway, next up, Messenger Hawk is a 2/1 hybrid of this color combo for the common one of these. So it's a 1/2 bird scout with flying. When it enters, create a clue token. The creature gets +2/+0 as long as you've drawn 2 or more cards this turn. So that's nice. 1/2 flyer that becomes a 3/2 flyer if you get that draw 2 kind of effect going. And then, yeah, it gives you the clue token, which you can later use to draw a card to facilitate other draw 2 kind of effects. It's doing what you want. It's a flyer in blue. And it can get bigger. I think it's pretty good. Next is the multi kind of pip hybrid card here, Hama the Bloodbender. So 2 and then 3 hybrid for a 3/3 human warlock. So you expect a pretty good effect here because it's 5 mana for a 3/3. When Hama enters, target opponent mills 3 cards. Exile up to 1 non-creature, non-land card from that player's graveyard. For as long as you control Hama, you may cast the exiled card during your turn by waterbending X rather than paying its mana cost, where X is its mana value. Okay, so let's read through this. So you make your opponent mill some cards to put stuff into their graveyard. Then you exile, effectively, I suppose, like an instant or a sorcery realistically is probably the idea here, but it can be a few other things. And then for as long as you control her, you're able to cast that exiled card for how much it costs, but it is water bending of that cost, so you can get it kind of slightly cheaper because of that. So the idea is you're blood bending it, you're water bending it, that you're getting some slight value that way. It's interesting. It completely depends on what, of course, your opponent is playing. Now, admittedly, they're probably going to be playing some good cards. You can find some way to make this work in your favor, especially if you just look at your opponent's graveyard before you cast this. Make sure there's something already there, so the mill, it's not dependent on the mill. Could be interesting, but it's a very kind of dependent on what you actually do with the card, because otherwise it's, 5 mana for a 3/3 that maybe does something with one of their cards, but I think it could actually be really good in the right situation as well. So fun flavor card, a different way to do blood blending as well. Last card in this color combination is our kind of character here. It's a rare Azula Cunning Usurper. So this is the double color Azula. So it's blue, black, black, and 2. So 5 mana for a 4/4 human noble rogue. Firebending 2. When Azula enters, target opponent exiles a non-token creature they control. Then they exile a non-land card from their graveyard. And then during your turn, you may cast cards exiled with Azula, and you may cast them as though they had flash. And mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells. So you get rid of, she comes in and she kind of, kills something. She exiles something kind of straight away. It does have to be a non-token, but that's relatively fine. And then you also get a second card, but that one comes from their graveyard. So there are now 2 cards that Azula can interact with, and you are able to cast that card. And it doesn't matter about the mana, just that you have enough mana. The color doesn't really matter. And they are also flash as well. So that's kind of nice. You could do something crazy during combat. You can wait for a while. And stuff like that. It's only during your turn, so yeah. But the flash means you can do stuff with them during combat, which is probably what you want to do because you get the mana for firebending, and you can use that at least to facilitate it. So it's nice. There's no other way to maybe reuse Azula just as is. You can maybe do some sort of thing where you use airbending on Azula to kind of recast her, but we're not really in the airbending colors here. But there might be a way to recast her so she gets 2 other cards that she can also use. But still, it's an interesting card. It's a rare, and there is an alternate art. This is one of the scene cards from the book 2 scene. And again, yeah, that is collector and play boosters for that one. Next up is blue-red. So this is combat lessons. Play creatures that care about casting non-creature spells, then teach your foes a lesson with your martial prowess. So the signpost uncommon here is interesting. It's an animal. Dragonfly Swarm. So 1 blue-red for an uncommon dragon insect. It is a star 3 with flying and ward 1. Ward 1 just means that when they try to target this, they either have to pay the 1 extra or whatever they targeted it with will be countered. So it's protection. This creature's power is equal to the number of non-creature, non-land cards in your graveyard. So effectively, your non-creature spells. So instants, sorceries, that sort of thing is really what you're mostly trying to focus on here to get its power up. When this creature dies, if there is a lesson card in your graveyard, draw a card. Now, realistically, that's always going to go off unless something crazy happens. So you're going to get the draw eventually. But it is a flyer with 3 toughness, which is already quite good for 3. And then when it comes in, theoretically, in a non-creature deck, it's probably going to have at least maybe 1 at this point. And then that will just get bigger over the course of the game. You do have to keep it on board, but it protects itself a little bit. They have to pay 1 extra on their spells to kind of get through on it. It's nice, simple, effective, doing what the deck kind of wants of hey, it's going to be focused on the non-creature spells, but you still need some creatures, and here's a creature that benefits from all that stuff. Next up is Abandon Attachments. So it's 1 and 1 hybrid for an instant lesson, so that's cool. You may discard a card. If you do, draw 2 cards. So that's nice. That's 1 discard, draw 2. So you get those extra cards. That's good to get more lesson. The discard is nice to get maybe a lesson into your graveyard quite quickly for just the 2 mana, and then you kind of load up your hands with more of them to spend as well. You may discard a card, so you can technically cast this for 2 and the card does nothing if you choose not to discard a card. There might be situations where potentially that is something you maybe want to do, just to maybe have a lesson activate without the effect actually going off. But hey, just noted, and I think it's a cool card as well. Just the Aang's decision going into the book 2 kind of finale. Now the art, again, it has one of those kind of slight outfit maybe inconsistencies type things, because this should be more of Aang in his kind of classic outfit rather than him meditating about this right at the end of the show when he was more dealing with the should I kill Ozai or not thing rather than his attachment to Katara. But anyway, next is the double hybrid card. So this is Professor Zay, Anthropologist, 2 hybrid mana for a 0/3 human advisor ally. Tap, discard a card, draw a card. Okay, yeah, again, this card in this one is fine, I think, just to kind of maybe get rid of something you don't need right now, but it helps the stuff that depends on lessons being in the graveyard. And then 1 and tap, sacrifice Professor Zay, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand, activate only during your turn. So you can get back that thing you really want to cast again. He doesn't have any power, it's only toughness. So he is mostly a creature that's just going to be tapping for effects every turn rather than doing anything. Maybe a little bit of blocking you might have to do with him, but still, cool card. Next we have Sokka, Bold Boomeranger. So this is our rare character in this archetype. So it's blue and red for a 1/1 human warrior ally. When he enters, discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards. Whenever you cast an artifact or a lesson spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Sokka. So yeah, you can choose to discard 1 to draw 1, discard 2 to draw 2. That's nice, that's flexible. And then yeah, he gets more powerful for lessons, but also for artifacts, which is kind of nice. Again, it's simple. He's not doing anything else beyond that, kind of just facilitating the discard, the draw, and lessons and artifacts, but it is kind of nice. This one has an extended art, and then there is also a promo card of this. The promo card was like a convention kind of exclusive thing, so it might be a little bit on the pricier side. It's not kind of crazy expensive, but it's one of those ones where just because it was only at a specific event, it's a bit awkward. So yeah, this is one you're probably going to have to go to the secondary market for at this point. You can't really, I don't think they're just giving it out anywhere anymore, but just be aware that this one does exist if you are going for the full collection. Next color combo is green and blue. So green and blue is ramp plus lessons. Turn your knowledge into power, ramp and draw cards to play big creatures while getting lessons in your graveyard. So this is a nice color combination. The signpost uncommon is Hermetic Herbalist. So the Herbalist of Taku and Miyuki. So yeah, it is green and blue for a 2/3. Nice, has a little bit of extra toughness there. 2 tap abilities. So first of all, tap to add 1 mana of any color. That's nice. It's one of the few cards that just does that kind of for free. So this is also a color that you can maybe more easily splash a 3rd color into this deck if you wanted to, because it does have a couple of ways to kind of have any type of mana available. So interesting. Tap, add 2 mana in any combination of colors. Spend this mana only to cast lessons. So you get 1 of any color or 2 of any color if you are using it to cast a lesson spell, which is what this archetype also wants to do. So very nice overall. Next is the hybrid stuff. So first of all is Platypus Bear. So it's 1 and 1 hybrid. So 2 mana for a 2/3 Platypus Bear with Defender. It means it can't attack. When this creature enters, mill 2 cards. As long as there is a lesson card in your graveyard, this creature can attack as though it didn't have Defender. So yeah, you mill to try and get lessons in if there's not one there already, so you can facilitate this attacking. I feel it maybe could have benefited by having maybe a little bit more going on, but I suppose the trigger for it to lose Defender is so simple in the deck potentially that you're doing, they can't make it too powerful. But still, it's I maybe feel I want a little bit more out of this, but it's still solid. Like, it's 2 mana for a 2/3, and then the mill for the rest of your deck is actually quite good. So this, because it is a 1-pip hybrid, this can also work in some of the other ones like the Draw 2 or the Combat Lessons, I suppose, as well. Just keep that in mind. So next is Guru Patik. So it's 2 and 2 hybrid for a 2/4 human monk ally. When he enters, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a lesson, a saga, or a shrine from among them and put it into your hand. Rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Whenever you cast a lesson, saga, or shrine, put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature you control. So he doesn't make himself bigger, he makes other things bigger, and he cares about all of this kind of lesson, history, saga, shrine stuff. So that's kind of nice. So lessons is primarily what you're going to be doing here. There's only a handful of sagas within the set, but you know, if you have them, he helps with that. As one of your more powerhouse cards, I guess, if you happen to have in this color combination the Legend of Karuk or the Legend of Kyoshi. But there is also the Iroh card with like Lu Ten. That saga is also, I think, in green. And then there are shrines. So this is the shrine deck, I suppose, potentially, because there are shrines in these 2 colors, but then this is also the one that allows you to maybe more go into the other colors a little bit easier. So you might be able to do some shrine stuff with this if you have Guru Patik, especially if you maybe have multiple copies of him and can facilitate it happening. Yeah, it's cool. It's doing what it wants to do. And the rare character here is the Line Turtle. So this is very cool. So 1 green-blue for a rare 3/6. So straight away something's up there. 3 mana for a 3/6. What's the downside? And as well, it's a 3/6 with vigilance and reach. What's the downside? When he enters, you gain 3 life. What's the downside? The Line Turtle can't attack or block unless there's 3 or more lesson cards in your graveyard. Okay, there's the downside. But then also, he add 1 mana of any color. So another way to get any mana color. So facilitating going into other colors and stuff like that. So at the very least, for the first maybe couple of turns, perhaps you just get to use him for mana each turn. Gain a little bit of life as you build up your lessons into your graveyard. But then when he becomes active, Vigilance Reach is nice. He's a really good blocker. That's kind of good overall. I do think maybe I would have liked it if they had maybe done a mythic rare Line Turtle that did kind of some crazy stuff, had like the really fancy, like really flavorful text on the card rather than like a bunch of just effects. But still, it's nice for what it is, I think, overall. And the Line Turtle, because it's the Line Turtle, gets a fancy alternate art. It gets a field note card here of it in the kind of Beast of the Four Nations journal style. So that's very cool. Field notes are available in play boosters and collector boosters. Next up is Black and Red, which is Fire Nation aggro. Everything changes when the Fire Nation attacks. Be aggressive with firebending and burn it on extra effects. So the signpost uncommon for this one, it's all Fire Nation colors, is Cruel Administrator. So we have 3 black-red for an uncommon. It's a 5/4, which is pretty nice, with Raid. So this creature enters with a +1/+1 counter on it if you attack this turn. Again, the play pattern here should be you attack, then cast this thing in your post-combat main phase. So Raid triggers because you attacked that turn. This doesn't have to have attacked this turn. You as a player just have had to. And then it comes in as a 6/5 for 5, which is great. And then when this does attack, create a 2/2 red soldier creature token with firebending 1. So it's doing exactly what you want. It's just like boosting itself like a little bit, wanting you to attack, giving you a benefit for attacking by creating the soldiers that have firebending, which allow you to cast stuff better. That's really nice. So doing exactly what the deck wants to do. That's why it's a signpost uncommon. Next is our other kind of prison warden character here for the Boiling Rock this time. So 2 and 1 hybrid of this color combo for a 2/3 with Menace. So it has to be blocked by at least 2 creatures if you want to block it. Has Firebending 1 and it has an activated ability for 3 mana. This creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. Okay, So it has a bit of firebending, and then you can put other mana into an effect to make it do damage. Later on in the game, you might have the ability to hit that a couple of times and start pinging your opponent, because it is direct damage to the opponent. And then he should have a decent time attacking because he does have menace. So you should be getting his firebending. It's kind of nice for the common one, which aren't like super powered. It's actually kind of nice. Next is the kind of double hybrid one here for this color combo, and that is Zhao, Ruthless Admiral. So it's a 4 mana for a 3/4 human soldier, firebending 2, and whenever you sacrifice another permanent, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. So nice, has the firebending, and then it leans into the sacrifice archetype that I suppose is mostly in black. But when you do that, you boost everything by 1, and hopefully by this point you maybe have some of those 2/2 soldiers, and it's just making everything like a little bit more powerful. Nice. Next is the kind of rare character for this archetype, and that is Zuko Conflicted. So it's black and red for a legendary creature human rogue. It's 2 mana for 2/3. Okay, kind of nice. At the beginning of your first main phase, choose one that hasn't been chosen and you lose 2 life. Draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Zuko, add red, exile Zuko, then return him to the battlefield under an opponent's control. So it seems crazy just because you read the last line of text and they're like, huh? Why do I want to do that? But you do have to realize that, no, the idea is like you keep him on board to get the first 3 effects. And then he's done enough for you probably at that point where like, okay, I know he's going over to the opponent's side of thing. I just need to be prepared for it, to deal with it. Or if you maybe have a sacrifice outlet, after you get the benefit of the first 3 effects, that's when you sacrifice Zuko so your opponent doesn't get him, that sort of thing. So it's still good because the idea is just for, I suppose, 6 life over the course of 3 turns, you get to draw a card, make him a 3/4, and add an extra mana. And then even if your opponent does get him, he's maybe not so powerful, maybe he's not doing exactly what your opponent wants to do, you know that that's coming. And again, is he going to stay on the board with like combat and kill spells all over the place for long enough for this to go back and forth? It almost feels like you and your opponent have to have an agreement with this card to trade it back and forth multiple times. But it's a really fun, flavorful card to get across Zuko at that very conflicted point where what side is he on, really? So cool stuff there. He has an alternate art as part of the book 2 scene image overall. But yeah, we move on to Ozai. So because there's a mythic rare here, because they have to cover Ozai, Ozai gets the mythic rare card here. So Ozai Phoenix King is 2 black, red, so 6 mana for a 7/7. Human noble with trample, firebending 4, and haste. I think I've mentioned this before, but I think this might be the only card that has firebending and haste at the same time. Because it works so well together. Just the immediate idea of you can attack and straight away get that mana back is fantastic, and so Ozai has it. If you would lose unspent mana, that mana becomes red instead, and Ozai has flying and indestructible as long as you have 6 or more unspent mana. So this gets a little bit into the weeds on how mana works in regards to like when you tap your mana, you generate it. But if you don't use that mana, it does kind of fall away as you kind of go between phases and between turns and stuff like that. Ozai is basically saying that that unspent mana goes into like a permanent mana pool, effectively, that you actually want to build up as part of the card. So when you get that up to 6, he also gains flying and indestructible. And of course, this works perfectly with firebending. If you attack with firebending 4 but don't have anything to use it for, usually that would go away after combat, because firebending mana is only for combat, but instead he supplies basically 4 mana for his last effect. So that would go straight up to 4 of the 6 to get to flying and indestructible. It's nice because you have any other firebending on the board, which you probably will by the time you have 6 mana. Though admittedly you can, I guess, cast Ozai a bit earlier with other firebending, which is probably what you want to do. He's devastating if he comes onto the board at the right time. Very powerful card here. There's probably ways to deal with him, but obviously before he gets to probably indestructible primarily, but still. Really fun design for Ozai. He has 2 alternate arts. He is the center card of the 9 card book 3 scene. And then he also has a normal battle pose card. This is not Neon Ink, so it's available in play boosters as well. So that is nice. Next color combo is black and green. So black and green is +1/+1 counters. Accrue power by any means. Stack up counters to gain bonuses and control the Earth Kingdom from within. So this is kind of like the evil Earthbender archetype. So you can see that the Dai Li agents are in here. Zinfu, Master Yu are in here. That sort of thing. And we start off with the Signpost Uncommon, which is Dai Li agents. So it's 3 black green for a human soldier. It's a 3/4. When this creature enters Earthbend 1, then Earthbend 1. And then whenever this creature attacks, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of creatures you control with +1/+1 counters on them. So the fact that it's Earthbend 1 rather than Earthbend 2 means it's flexible. You can use that effectively as Earthbend 2 if you target the same thing twice to make it bigger. But for the sake of the second effect, you probably want to go wide and actually turn 2 of your lands into 1/1 creatures, because X depends on the number of creatures with +1/+1 counters, which in most cases is going to be the things with Earthbending. There are other ways to get counters beyond that, but Earthbending is the easiest way, of course. So he kind of supplies himself with lose 2 life, you gain 2 life when he attacks. And that can start to really build up as well, especially because this is not a legendary creature. You could have multiple of these kind of going on at the same time. I think it's nice. It's doing exactly what you want to do, and it seems just really strong. There is an alternate art of Dai Li agents. It's part of the Book 2 scene card, which is cool. It's one of those uncommon alternate arts, which is interesting. Next up is the hybrid stuff. So Earth Village Ruffians, which is a 2 and 1 hybrid of this color combo for a 3/1 human soldier rogue. When this creature dies, Earthbend 2. Simple effect, but it's cool because it's like most of the Earthbenders have when they enter Earthbend. This one is when it dies, Earthbend 2. So you could sacrifice this to get the Earthbending. It's kind of nice, you know. It's a 3/1, so you kind of just want to send it into combat and see what happens, and then you get a 2/2 out of it. It's not amazing, but like it could be useful if you just need a lot of Earthbending, of course, a way to get those +1/+1 counters going. Then we have the double hybrid card, which is Long Feng Grand Secretariat, which is 1 and 2 of the hybrid, so 3 mana for a 2/3 human advisor. Whenever another creature you control or a land you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. So, okay, so when your creatures die or when your lands die, you get +1/+1 counters. Now, I think the wording of the land you control thing is because of how Earthbending is worded. Because it says here, when it dies, return it to the battlefield taps, meaning I guess it touches the graveyard first and then immediately comes back out. So I think that's how that works with Long Feng, is that a land creature that's defeated briefly touches the graveyard before it comes back, so it would trigger the +1/+1 counter that you can give to something else. To make a creature bigger or an Earthbend creature bigger, that sort of thing. So cool, doing what you want to do, certainly. And then the rare is Beifong's Bounty Hunters, which is 2 black-green for a rare. It's a 4/4. Whenever a non-land creature you control dies, Earthbend X, where X is that creature's power. So again, it's linking into what some of the other stuff is doing, of just you want your, in this case specifically, not your Earthbend creatures to die, your other creatures to die to facilitate Earthbending happening. This is obviously Zinfu and Master Yu. Also not a legendary creature, so multiple of these would be kind of nice, but you know, it is 4 mana at the same time. But still, I like it. This has an alternate art. It's an extended art, so only in collector boosters for that one. I actually think this is actually a pretty nice color combination. Black is not my favorite color, but I actually like the green-black stuff in particular. I think this could be a very fun deck to try and lean into. The last color combination is red and green, which is Earth Rumble Ramp. Use Mana Ramp and Earthbending to create 4+ power creatures, then rack up the bonuses to claim the title belt. So I also think this is actually a pretty fun color combination as well, with the characters involved and just what it's doing. I think also is interesting. The Signpost Uncommon here is Bitter Work. It's an enchantment, so it's 3 mana, 1 red and green for when you attack a player with one or more creatures with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Just have big creatures, attack with them, draw a card. Very simple, not too difficult to lean into that, to just get your card draw. And then it has exhaust 4, so you can only use this ability kind of once, but you pay for it to earthbend 4 only during your turn, and that of course creates a power 4 or greater creature that you probably want to attack with. And especially because if it's maybe a difficult board, you can maybe just use that ability, send your land creature into battle, knowing you'll get the land back, and it's a way to get that card draw if you kind of need it. So yeah, nice, exactly what you want, and a flavorful kind of thing for, this is like Toph's kind of color combination to a certain degree as well. Love the art. Next is the hybrid stuff. So the 1 hybrid here, so Earth Rumble Wrestlers, 3 and 1 hybrid for a 3/4 with reach. It gets +1/+0 and has trample as long as you control a land creature or a land enter the battlefield under your control this turn. So if you've done some earthbending already or played a land, then yeah, this is a 4/4 with reach. It's simple, but you kind of maybe need the reach in these colors to a certain degree to hit flyers. So it's one of those ones you might actually need just in your deck. Next is the kind of double hybrid one. This is Uncle Iroh, his kind of early series card. So 1 and 2 hybrids. So 3 mana for a 4/2 with firebending 1. So it's firebending in kind of green as well. Is interesting. Because you can play this for 1 green as well, because it is hybrid. So yeah, firebending 1, and then lesson spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So because green also has like the lesson stuff going on as well, he helps you to get them for cheaper. And because you're doing a little bit of ramp here, like upping your mana, like this could actually get you a couple of lessons in 1 turn, and the firebending 1 helps to pay for them as well. So you're casting them for less, he's generating 1 if you attack with him. And because of what they've done here with Iroh, is like they've made him a 4-power creature, that also plays into things as well. So it all works out pretty nicely. The rare character for this color combo is Toph Hard-Headed Teacher. So it's 2 red, green. For a human warrior ally, it is a 3/4. When Toph enters, you may discard a card. If you do, return target instant or a sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. So yes, so for a discard, you just get the card you want out of your graveyard back. That's nice, and that could be that's a lesson obviously that you're looking for, because whenever you cast a spell, Earthbend 1, if that spell is a lesson, put an additional +1/+1 counter on that land. So this is nice. Just whenever you cast a spell, that includes creatures. Creatures are spells in this game. Every card you're playing, basically, in essence, is a spell, except your lands. Earthbend 1. So that's repeatable. It's not once per turn. You can just keep having Earthbend 1 happen if you have enough mana. And then you get the bonus of, effectively, if you are casting a lesson, it's actually Earthbend 2. Because that's mainly the fundamental difference. It's just, it's an additional +1/+1 counter. Earthbend 1 plus a counter is Earthbend 2 in essence. So that's actually a really good card. There's an extended art version of this card as well, only in collector boosters. And then we also have a mythic rare here because we didn't have our mythic rare Boomy yet. So Boomy Unleashed is 3 green, red for a human noble ally. It's a 5/4 with trample. When Boomy enters, Earthbend 4. So that's incredible already. A 5/4 for 5 that comes in and makes it 4/4 as well. That's like 9/8 worth of stats already. And the Earthbend stuff does have haste. And this has trample. And then whenever Boomy deals combat damage to a player, untap all lands you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Only land creatures can attack during that combat phase. So there's a few ways you can use this, of course, because the idea is once Boomy deals damage, you get to untap your lands. So there's clever things you can kind of do here, because you can tap everything to do stuff earlier on in the turn. Maybe you just have Boomy attack in, untap everything, and just really focus on the idea that like your lands, using them for mana. Or you can really focus on because you're probably have a lot of land creatures with earthbending, that you can play into the idea that, like, oh, most of my lands are actually creatures. The land creatures get to attack twice, basically. Boomy himself doesn't get to attack during that extra combat phase, only the land creatures, but it's a really fun card where you can be sort of flexible about how you do it. And because he has trample, he's probably going to have an easier time getting through with just a little bit of damage to trigger the extra combat phase, though your opponent is really going to want to stop that, of course. But yeah, he has an alternate art. It's an elemental frame card. Boomy Unleashed looks fantastic. The look on his face there is wonderful. That's perfect Boomy. You don't want to be standing across the battlefield from him looking like that, of course, which is funny. But yeah, they are the double color combinations. We will move on to the 3 color cards now, and the one above 3 color card that we have. So into the multicolor cards. I'll actually start with the Aang because it's the only one into like more than 3 colors. So this is Avatar Aang. This is the 4/5 color Aang, mythic rare, human avatar ally. It's a 4/4 flying firebending 2. Whenever you waterbend, earthbend, firebend, or airbend, draw a card. If you've done all 4 this turn, transform Avatar Aang into Aang, Master of Elements. Avatar ally, it's now a 6/6, has flying. Spells you cast cost white, blue, black, red, green less to cast, and this can reduce generic cost. It just means any spell is 5 mana less than it currently is. You're going to be able to play a lot of your cards for free or for very cheap. It's a very powerful effect. At the beginning of each upkeep, you may transform Aang, Master of Elements. If you do, you gain 4 life, draw 4 cards, put 4 +1/+1 counters on him, and he deals 4 damage to each opponent. So using all 4 elements, you make these 4 things happen in multiples of 4. Very powerful. He's flipped back over into this side, but he's more powerful, and then you can continue to draw more cards and do stuff like that, and try and flip him over again, and do all that sort of stuff. It's an interesting one. It's obviously quite. It seems like it's not the easiest thing to do. I think is to have all of the bendings go off in one turn. He's got firebending built in with flying, so the firebending's likely going to happen. The others do require just you to have cards that do those things. Like the set doesn't really have like a card that has like multiple of the elements really like on it as such. So it's just like, okay, well, 3 of your other separate cards are going to have to like go off this turn to make this happen. Now, it helps you get there with the idea that as you start to do each one, you're drawing an extra card. And then by the time you draw 4 cards, you're able to transform it. It feels like it's more of a constructed thing in the sense that like if you pull this at like a draft, it's like really cool, but I don't think I can use it. Like is it even in any way kind of usable in that sense? Like you probably want to play it to a certain degree, just because like 4/4 flying firebending 2 that draws a card is nice, even if you can't use like most of what the card actually does. But you do need to take your deck in an ability to get multiple types of mana into play. Now, because it's 5 colors, it's not too bad, especially maybe if you are playing the green and blue deck, which seems to have a lot of that kind of built in add a mana of any color type stuff. In that case, this card is going to work there because it's not crazy costed. It's only like you need 2 mana of off color types. So, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, more of a constructed around card. It's a cool card, definitely. Multiple alternate arts for this one. There is the scene card here. So this is the other highlight of the big 9 card scene. Interestingly, with this one, you can actually use it on either side if you want to have them in the avatar state or not. And then this is also the headliner card here. So you have the Brian Konietzko raised foil crazy card that's going to be the most expensive one in the set, hardest to get card. So this is what this one looks like. This will be available from play or collector boosters. The Aang, this one you can only get from collector boosters. Next up is the 3 color Aang. So this is Aang at the Crossroads, which is 2 green, white, blue. Human avatar ally for a 3/3 with flying. When Aang enters, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a creature card with mana value 4 or less from among them onto the battlefield, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. When another creature you control leaves the battlefield, transform Aang at the beginning of the next upkeep. And he transforms into Aang, Destined Savior. 4/4 flyer. Land creatures you control have vigilance at the beginning of combat on your turn, Earthbend 2. So this one's interesting. The most powerful effect is on the front side of the card, kind of again, that's interesting. In this case, it is the when he enters, basically get a mana value 4 or less creature onto the battlefield for free. If you want to try and trigger that multiple times, that's sort of the idea of this card in terms of getting the most true value out of it. It actually has quite an easy transform cost because anything leaves the battlefield, you do get to transform it. And I think part of the wording maybe on that is also that, like, hey, we want you to kind of use it to get multiple creatures as well. Because the other side is nice, like, okay, land creatures you control have vigilance, so you can you can attack and then use them for mana on the same turn. That's kind of nice with your land creatures. And then he does get a regular source every turn of earthbending, because it's not you have to attack, it's just at the beginning of combat, it just happens. So it's nice if you need it, but the more powerful side I think is the front side here. Multiple arts here again, so there is a scene art here of this one. Again, you can actually use both sides of this one, it's just the avatar state on this one. There's an elemental frame of this one as well, Ang at the Crossroads. Really like the art on this one especially, it's very clean. So that's that. Next we have the triple color Azula. So this is 1 blue, black, red for a rare. It's a 4/4 with firebending 2. And whenever you cast a spell while she is attacking, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. A copy of a permanent spell becomes a token. So yeah, you can do, like, it's just a spell. You may copy that spell. That includes like creatures. Now, admittedly, it would have to be like a flash creature for you to be able to do that, but that's how it would work. Typically, you're going to be doing the typical firebender stuff where it's probably an instant that you are kind of casting while you're attacking, and she gets to kind of redirect copies of that, which is kind of cool. So, you know, if you use the lightning strike one, it's just, oh wow, you copy a deal 3 damage spell. That's cool. It deals 6 damage. It's cool because like you can really take your opponent by surprise to a certain degree by just like, depending on what spell you drop, it could do something quite interesting. But yeah, it's a nice Azula card that just plays into what firebending is doing overall. Again, multiple alternate arts here because these are the kind of high-end version of all the characters. This is one of the 9-card book 3 scene arts that you can see here. And there's also a battle pose card. Not a neon ink, so this one is available in play boosters, but she has that. Next is Firelord Zuko, which is red, white, and black for a 2/4 with Firebending X, where X is Firelord Zuko's power, so it's 2 at the start. But whenever you cast a spell from exile and whenever a permanent you control enters from exile, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So airbending is obviously the really clear way in the set to make that happen. He is in white, so you can get that way. So if you have one of the kind of maybe like white-red decks, and you can splash for black to get him in there, you know, you can do some airbending stuff with him to boost him up, so the firebending becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And yeah, he puts +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, including himself. So that's how you do get bigger. You make your whole board bigger. Kind of nice. He again has multiple alternate art, another part of the 9-card book 3 scene. He has a neon ink battle pose card, so again, this is going to be probably one of the more expensive cards in the set. As I said before, I don't particularly think the neon ink stuff, I think outside of the double-sided Ang is like super incredible. I find it maybe a little bit odd here that they went for book 1 Zuko for the card that's actually called Fire Lord Zuko. The same with actually the Katara as well, as we'll get to here. It's why did they go for her like early series outfit for when it's meant to be the end of series card. But anyway, that's that. Next is Iroh Grand Lotus. So here's your end of series Iroh. So 3 green, blue, red. So 6 mana for a 5/5 with firebending 2. During your turn, each non-lesson instant and sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback. The flashback cost is equal to that card's mana cost. During your turn, each lesson card in your graveyard has flashback 1. So basically, he gives all of your instant and sorceries flashback, but the lessons are reduced to 1, and the non-lessons are the cost that they normally are. But still, he allows you to cast all of your instants and sorceries from your graveyard again. that's really, really cool, especially if you do have a super lesson focus. The value that you are getting out of that, if those lessons are doing what you need, is quite strong. Now, it's a 6 mana card, so it's coming into play a little bit later on, though you are kind of in one of the firebending colors as well as the ramp colors, so it's maybe a bit earlier than you actually think. But it's a strong effect, certainly. I think this is actually a really fun one to maybe build around if you can. And yeah, this one, because it is in blue and green, the ease in a double color deck of getting the extra red probably isn't actually that bad, because if you just have 1 or 2 of those extra sources, you only need 1 red to pay for the cost here. That should be doable, I think, because it is more of a high-end card. So it might be one of the bigger cards that you can actually put into a kind of draft or a pre-release deck if you pull him. He does have an elemental frame card, which I think is fantastic looking. But yeah, we'll move on to Katara the Fearless. So this is Katara's end of series card. It is green, white, and blue for a legendary creature, human warrior ally. It's a 3/3 with a simple effect, but it's a powerful effect. If a triggered ability of an ally you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. So she's all about allies, and specifically allies that have trigger effects. It makes them go off again. Now, what are these on effects? Like, how do you know what a triggered ability is? This is basically the card wording that is like, when this thing happens, this thing happens. That's a triggered ability. An activated effect, obviously, is one where it's like, oh, tap, pay a cost, and stuff like that, and this happens. That's not triggered, that's activated. It's just something happens, and then something else happens. That's what you're triggering again here on allies. And yeah, it keeps happening. If you can have multiple of them happen, it's really good. Multiple alternate art here, because this is Katara's big card, so she's in one of the book 2 scene art here. She has an elemental frame as well, and like I said before, she does also have a neon ink battle pose card. So this one in particular is only in collector boosters, and again, why is it her book 1 outfit here and not her book 3 outfit? That's a little bit kind of questionable, but it's probably going to look very nice in foil. That's the big thing here. If you pull this card, you're going to be happy just in terms of the value, the sheer rarity of the card you pulled. Note, these ones also do not have the effect text on them. The cards still do what they do, it's just the text isn't printed on them, so you just have to be aware of what the card actually does, of course. So that's that. Also, there is also a promo Katara. This is Katara the Fearless as well. This is one of the kind of convention promos. This is one of the first promos. It's like SDCC promo plus some other stuff. Again, it's mostly probably at this point going to be a secondary market card that you go for, because I'm not sure they're going to be handing it out anywhere else. But just note that there is, if you want the art of her in her book 3 Fire Nation outfit, that's where you get that one from. So there's that. Next we have Sokka, Tenacious Tactician. So 1 blue, red, white for a human warrior ally. It's a 3/3 with menace and prowess. Other allies you control have menace and prowess, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 white ally creature token that will come in and get menace and prowess. So it's all about menace and prowess. So yeah, it has to be blocked by at least 2 creatures. That means if you do go wide, which you are trying to do with all the ally tokens, your opponent's going to have a hard time blocking everything. And then prowess means, of course, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you boost whatever it is. And you're basically giving your entire creature lineup prowess. So everything's getting a boost by +1/+1. That's just doing exactly what you want to do in this color combination. And then, yeah, just you keep casting those non-creature spells, getting those tokens, and you're just doing exactly what you want to do. So it's a really good card. I think there's a commander deck here with Sokka kind of written all over it, so that actually seems quite fun. You know, you put the Hakoda rare in here as well, and you have the 2 kind of invasion commanders in one deck. It seems kind of nice, if I'm honest. This one has an elemental frame card, which looks cool. Next is Toph, the first metal bender. So this is 1 red, green, white for a human warrior ally. It's a 3/3. Non-token artifacts you control are lands in addition to their other types, and at the beginning of your end step, earthbend 2. So it has a continuous source of earthbending, always earthbending every turn at the end step. But the first line of text is the really interesting one here. So non-token artifacts you control are lands. So it basically means your artifacts are now lands, meaning you can target them with earthbending. You can turn your artifacts into artifact land creatures, which of course is nice because it means now you don't have to target your lands. So you can still use your lands just with more ease, I suppose, for their mana, and you don't have to worry about should I attack or should I use them for mana, like is the typical decision for earthbending. Instead, maybe your random artifacts that you're not using right now, they can attack in as your extra attackers. That's a nice extra bonus. The other thing is just that it because of the rules text of earthbending, which is when it dies or is exiled, return it to the battlefield tapped. This is very interesting on stuff that isn't just a land. So now artifacts will be returned to the battlefield after they're killed because they died as lands that were earthbound. And it wants you, like, in a way, like what people are trying to do to almost like break this card is like, oh, if I turn my creatures into lands and then I earthbend them, then my creatures come back as well. Like, what if I do that to Toph? Toph, I want to keep Toph on the board at all times. If I can turn Toph into a land somehow and earthbend her, then she'll always come back. That's the really fun factor on this card. It's just, it's such a unique first line of text, and it's very flavorful as well because it's like, oh yeah, artifacts, they're typically made of metal. This is how Toph is able to metal bend them, is that she uses her earthbending on artifacts, which you have to have metal bending to do, and that's just very fun. And there is an alternate art of Toph, so this is the kind of Toph in her Fire Nation outfit. Very, very cool there. So yeah, they are all of the multicolor cards for the set, and that just leaves us now with the kind of artifacts and also the different lands to go over, and we'll be finished the TLA set. Next we move on to the artifacts. There aren't really that many of them, but they are going to be interesting because they're all like colorless, so it's kind of interesting. So yeah, first of all, Barrels of Blasting Jelly, 1 mana for a common artifact, and you can pay 1 to add 1 mana of any color, activate only once each turn. So that's a kind of mana filter ability because you have to pay the mana to kind of turn it into a different colored mana. But it is a way to do that if you need to kind of facilitate adding extra colors to your deck. This is a very cheap way to do it early on because it's just the artifact comes in for 1 and then you just pay 1 to get another one. You can also pay 5, tap, and sacrifice it to deal 5 damage to target creature. So it's also a removal spell kind of later on in the game as well. So very flavorful as well, and the idea of this one here. But yeah, then we move on to Bender's Waterskin, 3 mana for a common artifact. Untap this artifact during each other player's untap step, and tap to add 1 mana of any color. So it's just an artifact, kind of mana rock style thing, where like it just sits there, it taps for a mana of any color, so it's another kind of facilitator for other colors. But interestingly, it untaps during each other player's untap step. So it'll untap on your turn, it'll untap on your opponent's turn. So you do get kind of like an extra mana in there. Obviously more for instant speed stuff on your opponent's turn, but still interesting overall. Next is Fire Nation Worship. It is 3 mana for a 4/4 artifact vehicle. It's an uncommon. It has reach, and when this vehicle dies, create a clue token, and it crews for 2. So you have to tap creatures up to 2 power to get it active as a vehicle. But yeah, 4/4 reach, when it dies, get a clue token. It seems solid enough. I'm not sure it's the one you're going to be playing maybe super often, but could be what you need. Next is the Kyoshi Battle Fan. 2 mana for an artifact equipment at common. When it enters, create a 1/1 white ally creature token, then attach this equipment to it. The equipped creature gets +1/+0. Otherwise, the equip cost is 2. So it's 2 mana to basically create a 2/1 token straight away. Then when that token dies, you still have the battle fan on the board, and you can equip it to other things for 2, and they get +1. The stats that it gives are not like super amazing later on, but I think the fact that it comes in with an ally is actually kind of nice. Just, you know, kind of surprised, and especially in the decks that want the ally tokens, this is actually, I think, somewhat interesting. Next up, Meteor Sword is 7 mana for an uncommon artifact equipment. When this equipment enters, destroy target permanent. Equipped creature gets +3/+3, and the equip cost is 3. So, yeah, this is a fun card. This is Sokka's Space Sword, and yeah, it just enters, destroys something immediately. You do have to pay for the equip cost in this case, but it does give something +3/+3, which is quite significant overall. 6 stats for 3. And yeah, the other thing is that this is also a nice target for airbending. If you can hit a permanent that doesn't have to be a creature, just having this to destroy something as well is something also to consider. So, fun card. Next up, Mythic Rare, Planetarium of Wan Shi Tong, 6 mana for an artifact. It's a legendary artifact. 1 and tap to scry 2, and whenever you scry or surveil, look at the top card of your library. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost, and you can only do that once a turn. Really, really interesting card. And yeah, that's just kind of something you kind of want to do. It just seems broadly good. It's a good mythic. The fact that the scry sort of sets up the first ability there, 1 and tap, effectively sets up the card that you are going to pay with the other ability. So that's definitely good overall. So I like it, definitely. And then you can keep doing that kind of each turn. So it comes in a little late though, but I guess maybe in like firebending decks or like a green kind of ramp, you might be able to get it out earlier and do something with it, but cool. This one has an extended art, only from collector boosters as well. Next is the Trusty Boomerang. So it's 1 mana for an uncommon equipment. Equipped creature has the ability, pay 1 and tap to tap target creature, and then you return the boomerang to its owner's hand. And the equip cost is 1. So kind of a lot going on here, because you have to pay 1 for this, then you have to pay 1 to equip it, then you have to pay 1 and tap to tap something, then you get the boomerang back, and I guess you could just keep going again. The flavor is there because it obviously returns to your hand and allows you to just like immediately use it again, of course. So there's no stats on it, interestingly, so it is just like, it's effectively what, like, pay kind of 3 mana and tap to just tap something. I'm interested to see how usable kind of this is overall. Like, this either feels like something you will play occasionally or just maybe never play at all. I don't even know. Next is the Walls of Ba Sing Se. 8 mana for a legendary artifact creature wall, mythic rare. It's a 0/30. That's the biggest number we have said in terms of anything on basically any card so far. It has Defender, and other permanents you control have Indestructible. So obviously, look, it can't attack. It doesn't have any stats to attack with. There is no way in the Avatar set on its own to really facilitate this kind of, I think, doing anything, because I don't think any cards in the at least the TLA set really relate to like how much toughness things have, or doing anything necessarily with the toughness of a creature. So this is just within the Avatar set a massive toughness that will defend your stuff. You give everything else that you have indestructible, so they can't target your stuff, meaning they have to target the Walls of Ba Sing Se first, take it down, because they're not going to be taking this thing down in combat, so they have to get rid of it and then target your other stuff. So it's just a perfect protection card. It is 8 mana for all those stats, so it is much later on in the game, but again, firebending and Earth Kingdom ramp maybe to get it out could be, I think, quite interesting overall. And especially if you can even, like, you know, maybe put an equipment on it just to give it like a little bit of stats, like it could be kind of interesting, just so it's a reasonable blocker. So fun card, definitely one I want to get. There is also a field note alternate art of this, which I think is quite cool that they did this for the Walls of Bossing sake. So just, I always love seeing giant numbers on Magic cards. Next up is the White Lotus tile. This is 4 mana for another mythic rare artifact. This one enters tapped, and then later on you can tap it to add X mana of any one color, where X is the greatest number of creatures you control that have a creature type in common. So it's the White Lotus tile, so it's going for the White Lotus theming, which is primarily allies, which is obviously within the Avatar set where you're going to probably get the most value from this, in that most of the colors lean towards allies overall. There is like soldiers and warriors that can kind of get you there as well, in the sense that, like, I can't see this card like really anywhere in the Avatar set just like not getting you like more than like 2 or something like that, getting you less than 2. It feels like you're always going to get like a decent amount once you have a decent board. That's the thing, is that it does rely on you having multiple creatures on the board. It feels like it's good enough to where like you would still play it and without needing to build around it. But it's probably not the most hyped of this type of card, this style of card where it just adds mana for doing something that's relatively common. This is not the most powerful, but I still think it's quite good. This one has a field note as well, as you can see here. The only unfortunate one with this is that there's actually quite a bit of the art, like some of the most detailed parts of the art, the actual Game of Pi show, is kind of hidden underneath the text box, and it would have been nice to see it like a little bit kind of clearer overall, but it's always hard with the kind of templating kind of overall, but maybe it could have been like maneuvered around the different pieces of it overall. But yeah, they are the artifacts. And we will bring the video and the TLA set to a close with the other lands. So we start with, this is the cycle of dual lands. These are common lands that you will get pretty regularly in the packs. And they all do the exact same thing. They are all just in the 10 different color combinations. So you can see this one here, Airship Engine Room, is the blue and red one. They enter tapped. When you are able to use them, you tap and you can add either color, so red or blue, and then they will all have this other ability, which is, I guess, later on in the game, you can pay 4 mana, tap it, and sacrifice this land to draw a card. They're actually, I think, kind of nice, and they work perfectly for like pre-release stuff or draft, of just like if you happen to get lucky and get the one of the deck you're building, you definitely probably want to play it, because it'll get you a card draw later on, and it can just help you with just the kind of fixing of the colors just within the 2 that you have overall. So yeah, for this color combination, it is the Airship Engine Room of one of the Fire Nation warships. For the black and red one here, it is the Boiling Rock Prison. For black and green, it's the Foggy Bottom Swamp, the Swamp. Kyoshi Village is white and green. That's nice to see. The meditation pools here, so this is what Guru Patik, of course, shows to Aang at the Eastern Air Temple, so that's nice. The Misty Palms Oasis in the desert is for black and white. North Pole Gates of Agna Kel-A is the white and blue combination. Omashu City is for red and green. These are all very thematic as well. The characters that tend to be in each of these colors, they're roughly kind of getting right here as well. The Serpent's Pass is black and blue. White and red is the Sun Blessed Peak, which is the Ancient Sun Warriors, which is nice. And then we move into a cycle of rare lands. Now, because they're rares, these are all available in extended art as well, only from collector boosters, so just be aware of that. So, the Abandoned Air Temple enters tapped unless you control a basic land. The idea there being that you don't want this to be your first land you play in the game, but basically your second realistically. So yeah, this taps for white, but then it has the ability, pay 3 and a white and tap. You can put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So these are another thematic thing for each of the colors to kind of do what that color typically does. So +1/+1 counters here for the Abandoned Air Temple. Agna Kel-A does the exact same thing, just for blue at the start, and then it has the ability to pay 2 and a blue and tap to draw a card and then discard a card, which is nice. Agna Kel-A, of course, is the actual name for the Northern Water Tribe capital. We were never told this in the show. This is actually only a reveal from kind of the last couple of years. I guess we've known it for like 5-ish years now at this point, but still, it's something we didn't know just from the show. Bossing Say is the green one of these, and it has the ability 2 and a green and tap to Earthbend 2, activate only as a sorcery. So you can see that that's really nice to facilitate, like in blue, the extra card draw. In green here, getting regular Earthbending, which also gets you +1/+1 counters as well, if your deck cares about that. Next is the Fire Nation Palace for red. So this one has 1 and a red, tap, target creature you control gains firebending 4 until end of turn. So it kind of pays itself back there if you kind of get to attack with that thing with firebending 4. So yeah, exactly what you want to do. Here's the one for black, which is the Realm of Ko. 3 and a black and tap, create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token with this token can't be blocked by a non-spirit creature. So that is a source of those spirit creature tokens, which are not like super regular across the set. So it's interesting that it's there on the land. Then we have the common land, the Rumble Arena. It has Vigilance, and when it enters, you scry 1. It taps for a colorless mana, and then has the ability you pay 1 and tap to add 1 mana of any color. So it has the kind of filtering aspect, which is kind of nice. It's there if you want it, otherwise it just gives you a generic mana. That's good. You get to scry 1, which is nice, and then it's weird, like, oh, why does a land have Vigilance? And it's because clearly the theming here, this is a land that wants to be targeted by Earthbending. You want to Earthbend this because all of a sudden the Vigilance suddenly becomes activated at that point, because then it is a creature and it can attack and gain a benefit from Vigilance. So very fun, clever aspect there. And it's the same with this, Secret Tunnel, a rare land, which is also a cave. This land can't be blocked. I wonder why that is. Tap to add a colorless mana, and then you can pay 4 and tap. 2 target creatures you control that share a creature type can't be blocked this turn. So get things through by giving them a secret tunnel through to hit your opponent, basically. That's fun and flavorful, Oma and Shu. And then, of course, it wants to also be earthbent into a creature, and in that case, then it can't be blocked as well, which is, I think, just a lot of fun. Then we have the White Lotus Hideout, which is an uncommon land. So it's tap to add a colorless, tap to add 1 mana of any color, but you can only spend this mana to cast a lesson or a shrine. So there's a bit of support for those two again. Lessons are pretty regular, so that is kind of good. And then it has the kind of filtering effect of pay 1 and tap to add a mana of any color. So another way to facilitate multicolored decks. And then our last land, the last card here, is the Jasmine Dragon Tea Shop. So it's a rare land. Tap to add a colorless, tap to add 1 mana of any color, and you can spend this mana only to cast an ally spell or activate an ability of an ally source. So that's cool. You can spend it on getting an ally creature into play or one of their activated abilities, which is nice. And then 5 and tap, create a 1/1 white ally creature token, which most decks kind of do actually kind of want to do. Like there's very few of the colors that you maybe don't want this in, maybe not as much in black, but still it's kind of cool. So yeah, a lot of these extra lands are kind of mostly here. These ones at the end are just like, hey, if you do need to go into 3 colors, well, these are the ways to kind of help facilitate that. You just need to make sure that you've organized your lands kind of effectively so that it works out. So yeah, we're here at the end of the set. It's looking really nice. I like roughly what all the colors are doing. There's a lot of nice commander options in the multicolor kind of characters. A lot of the big mythic rare cards seem really, really interesting, and none of them seem like bad. Like, I think there's relatively few, like, just bad cards in the set. It seems really nicely crafted and put together. The art is amazing throughout, both in terms of the normal art and the alternate art stuff as we've gone through. I think this is just shaping up to be a really, really good set. We'll of course have to wait and see how people judge, like, how is the gameplay? How is this set as a format, effectively? Like, how do all the color pairs work together? Is anything particularly overpowered? We'll have to wait and see. But it looks really good so far, and I think that's a huge success, because I think Magic was in a position where, after the Spider-Man set, which is the set that came out just before this, I think people were very prepared to rip this set apart, because it was another IP-based set following up that Spider-Man set, and if it wasn't up to scratch, it would have been rejected. But it hasn't been rejected, outside of maybe the source material cards with the screenshots, at least of some of them. We'll talk about those more when I talk about the TLE kind of set, which will be I'll leave a little bit of a gap, but I'll cover what's in the TLE set eventually. That seems to be the only notable criticism from this set, I would say, realistically. I'm not sure how people super care about the secret layers that's coming up. I think that's a little bit maybe like below par, but broadly speaking, I think it's pretty fine. So I like it from a flavor point of view as well. I don't think they've really missed out on too many opportunities. Just some of the things, like I said earlier on throughout the videos, of like, for instance, in white, like, there's no Gyatso in the main set, though there is in Jumpstart. That feels like a little bit of a kind of mistake to me, just to give a bit of variety to the Airbenders. That would have been good. I think it would have been nice to see maybe a more general full art kind of booster fun treatment in the set. It feels like a lot of them are kind of a little bit overly specific, and it feels like, say, Mei, Tylee, Suki, some of those characters, it would have been nice to have a proper alternate art, a chase card for those other notable characters, whereas the way we have it right now, it feels like, okay, like, the animals actually get sort of a better art treatment in a way than some of the most notable characters from the show, and that's just the way they kind of put the alternate art, kind of high rarity stuff into the set. But otherwise, I think they've done a fantastic job here. So if you followed me all the way through these videos, thank you for watching all of this. But I'd also say just that, like, this is the only time on this channel I expect to have, like, a full Magic set that I'm actually going to do full content on, because I'm an Avatar channel. I've done scattered Magic videos, just like kind of casually over the years, but I really have not made that at all a part of my channel. This is the one time the crossover is perfect, where, yeah, it makes sense for me to cover this. So I wanted to go in depth on this, just to have it here to say that, like, yeah, I got to experience all the full experience of the Avatar Magic set, and I'm excited as we go forward to I'm attending one of the pre-releases on Saturday. I'll do a video talking about how that went, what cards I got there, of course, and then I do have all my kind of product coming in, and I will do opening videos for all that stuff. So I do have some more Avatar Magic stuff coming out, and then, like I said, I'll also cover the TLE set to kind of some extent. I think I'll go through it like a lot quicker, just because it's not maybe as important to read all the cards, because, like, say, a lot of them are just reprints from, like, the source material sheet, but you know, we'll go through it. So yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.